When headlines scream, crash, the 1% shop, these 5 assets are flying off their private lists right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Wealth Architect. I'm Dr. Ben. You've been told the markets are collapsing, that it's time to hide under the bed and wait for the sky to stop falling. But while the crowd panics and sells everything at a loss, the people who actually built real wealth are doing the opposite. They're quietly positioning themselves in 5 specific assets that most people have never even considered owning. Today, I'm breaking down exactly what those assets are, why the 1% are moving into them right now in 2026, the exact entry points you can use at any portfolio size, and the risk rules they follow so you never get crushed. If you're tired of watching your portfolio swing wildly with every headline, tired of the same old advice that keeps you stuck in the employee lane, and ready to start designing cash flow engines that survive and thrive no matter what the market does, stay with me. This one is going to change how you think about protection and growth forever. We're going to walk through these 5 assets one by one, in the exact order the smartest money is stacking them right now. By the end, you'll have a complete blueprint you can put to work this week, no matter where you're starting from. Let's get into it. Number 5, gold and precious metals, the silent insurance policy. Let's begin with the one asset that has protected family fortunes for over 5,000 years and still works when everything else breaks down. Right now, in 2026, central banks around the world are buying physical gold at the fastest pace we've seen in modern history. At the same time, ultra-high net worth families and sovereign wealth funds are adding it faster than at any point since the 2008 crisis. Why? Because when trust in paper currencies starts to crack under the weight of global debt and endless stimulus, gold simply sits there and holds its purchasing power. It doesn't need a CEO, it doesn't need earnings reports, and it doesn't care what the Fed says tomorrow. The 1% don't treat gold as a quick trade or a speculation play. They treat it as portfolio insurance that pays off exactly when you need it most. Think of it like the fire extinguisher you keep in the kitchen. You hope you never have to use it, but when the kitchen catches fire, you're glad it's there. Here's what this means for you right now. If you're watching your savings lose buying power every year to inflation, or if you're worried that another round of money printing could wipe out the value of your cash and bonds, gold steps in as the stabilizer. It has historically delivered strong returns precisely during periods when stocks and bonds both struggled. Let me give you the exact entry points you can use today, even if your portfolio is still in the 5-figure range. You don't need a private vault or millions in the bank. Start with spot gold ETFs like GLD or IAU for instant liquidity and low costs. If you want the real thing, buy physical bars or coins through established dealers like Apex or JM Bullion. For a middle ground, consider gold mining stocks or royalty companies that give you leveraged exposure without storing metal yourself. The allocation rule the 1% follow is simple and consistent, 5 to 10% of the overall portfolio. That's the same slice you'll see in many top family offices. It's enough to make a difference when you need it, but not so much that it drags on performance during calm times. Now the risk rules they actually use. They never buy at the peak of a fear spike. Instead, they spread purchases over months using dollar-cost averaging. They keep a portion in physical form stored completely outside the traditional banking system, sometimes even in different countries. That way, if one part of the system freezes or gets locked down, the rest of their gold still works. They also track the gold to silver ratio and use silver as a tactical satellite position when it gets extremely undervalued. Let me make this real for you with a quick example. Imagine a family office in 2008 that had 8% in physical gold. When stocks dropped 50% and banks froze, their gold rose 25% in the same period and gave them the cash to buy distressed assets at bargain prices. That single move turned a defensive position into the fuel for the next decade of growth. Here's your immediate action step. Pull up your current portfolio today and calculate what 5% in gold would look like for you. Set up an automatic monthly purchase of just $100 or $200 into a gold ETF. In 6 months, you'll have a position that starts working for you automatically. One more thing before we move on. Gold also gives you a psychological edge. When everyone else is glued to the news and making emotional decisions, you know your insurance policy is already in place. That calm alone is worth more than most people realize. That's gold. It's not flashy, but it has outlasted every empire and every financial system that tried to replace it. Now, let's move to the next asset that is printing both food and cash, while the rest of the world fights over digital numbers. Number 4, farmland and productive agricultural land, the asset that prints food and cash. While everyone is still arguing about tech stocks and AI hype, the 1% have been quietly buying farmland through private funds and publicly traded vehicles at a record pace in 2026. This one surprises a lot of people, but it shouldn't. Food never goes out of style. In fact, during every major crisis, demand for food goes up while supply chains get stressed. Farmland delivers steady rental income from farmers who pay every season, appreciates with global population growth, and acts as a natural hedge against inflation because the price of what it produces tends to rise. The 1% see farmland as a triple threat asset. It generates cash flow today, grows in value over time, and literally cannot be printed like money. That combination is rare. Let's get practical for you. You don't need to own a 1,000-acre farm in Iowa to participate. Publicly listed farmland REITs like Farmland Partners or Gladstone Land let you own pieces of productive land with minimum investments as low as a few $1,000s. There are also farmland-focused ETFs and interval funds that give you exposure to U.S. and international agricultural assets. Some platforms now allow fractional ownership of specific farms through tokenized shares. The cash yield on these vehicles is often higher than most dividend stocks and far more stable because it's tied to actual crop production and long-term leases. In 2026, many of these REITs are yielding 4 to 7%, while the underlying land values continue to climb. Risk management here is straightforward and battle-tested. The 1% buy land only in regions with reliable water rights and multiple crop cycles per year. They never chase overpriced land in trendy areas. They lease it to experienced operators on multi-year contracts, so the income keeps flowing whether the stock market is open or closed. They also diversify across crop types and geographies, so a drought in one place doesn't wipe out the whole position.
Let me paint a picture that shows why this works so well. Take a mid-sized family office that started buying Midwest farmland in 2015. By 2026, that land had appreciated over 60% while throwing off consistent rental income every quarter. When the broader market corrected sharply in late 2025, their farmland portfolio kept paying and actually increased in value because food demand stayed rock solid. That income let them buy more assets at discounted prices while others were forced to sell. For you, the action step is clear. Open your brokerage account and look up Farmland Partners or similar vehicles. Put a small amount to work this month, even if it's just $5,000. Then set a reminder to review the position every 6 months. Over time, you'll build a real asset income stream that doesn't disappear when Wall Street has a bad day. Farmland also solves another problem most people don't talk about. It gives you ownership of something tangible that produces necessity. In a world where so much wealth is just numbers on a screen, this is real. That takes us to the next level, the asset class where the 1% are turning other people's desperation into high-yield cash flow for themselves. Number 3, private credit and distressed debt funds, the cash flow engine most people never see. This is where we step into territory that used to be reserved for institutions only, but in 2026, you can access it too. Blackstone, Apollo, and several other giants have raised tens of billions in new distressed debt and private credit funds aimed exactly at this moment. They're not buying stocks at the bottom. They're becoming the bank that lends to quality companies at 12 to 18% interest rates when those companies need cash the most. The 1% love this because it creates predictable high cash flow with built-in collateral and short durations. When markets panic, good businesses still need financing, and the 1% provide it on terms that favor the lender. Here's how you get in. You no longer need to be an accredited investor for every option. Several interval funds and business development companies now accept retail money with minimums starting at $2,500. Look specifically for funds focused on senior secured loans backed by strong collateral like real estate or equipment. Platforms like Yield Street or Fundrise have opened up private credit sleeves that you can add to your portfolio today. The risk rules are what make this sustainable. They never lend more than 50 to 60% of the collateral value. They structure deals with short durations so they can get their money back quickly if conditions change. They build in covenants that protect them if the borrower's business slips. That margin of safety is why these funds keep paying, even when public markets drop 30 or 40%. Let me show you the power with a real-world parallel. In 2020, many private credit funds stepped in when traditional banks pulled back. Those funds delivered mid-teens returns while the S&P 500 was still recovering. The same playbook is being run again in 2026, only this time the scale is larger and the opportunities are more numerous. Your action step is to research 2 or 3 private credit interval funds this week. Compare their historical distributions and fee structures. Allocate a portion of your portfolio that matches your comfort level, perhaps 10 to 15%, and watch the quarterly cash flow come in regardless of what the stock ticker says. Private credit solves the problem of low yields on safe assets. Instead of accepting 4% from treasuries, you can generate 10% or more from secured lending while still protecting principal. That difference compounds powerfully over time. Now we move to the asset that still makes traditional investors roll their eyes, yet the forward-thinking 1% keep adding it quietly. Number 2, Bitcoin as digital scarcity, the modern fixed supply asset. Bitcoin has a hard cap of 21 million coins. No government, no central bank, no CEO can create more. In a world where paper money can be printed without limit, this digital scarcity is becoming the escape hatch for serious capital. Family offices and billionaires who once dismissed it are now treating it the same way they used to treat rare art or classic cars, a small but permanent slice of the portfolio that offers asymmetric upside. In 2026, with spot Bitcoin ETFs trading smoothly and custody solutions improving every quarter, the barrier to entry has never been lower. You can start today through any brokerage with a spot Bitcoin ETF, or, if you want full control, self-custody a portion on a hardware wallet. The 1% rule of thumb is 1 to 3% of net worth, small enough that even a 70% drawdown won't threaten the overall plan, but large enough that the upside can be life-changing. The risk management is simple. They size the position so volatility is just the cost of admission. They buy on dips, they never sell in panic, and they view it as the modern equivalent of gold, but with a much higher growth ceiling. Let me give you a scenario that shows the difference. A family office that put 2% into Bitcoin in 2020 saw that slice grow to represent over 15% of their portfolio by 2026, all while the rest of their holdings provided stability. That single decision created optionality they never would have had otherwise. Your immediate step is to open your brokerage app and look at the spot Bitcoin ETF and decide on a starter amount you can comfortably hold for the next 5 years. Set a monthly buy order for a fixed dollar amount so you automatically accumulate on dips. Bitcoin solves the scarcity problem that fiat money can never fix. It gives you participation in the upside of a truly limited asset, while everything else gets diluted. That brings us to the number 1 asset the 1% are holding in record amounts right now, and it might surprise you. Number 1, cash and short-term treasuries, the ultimate dry powder. Yes, cash. Berkshire Hathaway is sitting on over $370 billion in cash and short-term treasuries, the highest in its history. Ultra-high net worth portfolios have moved their cash allocation from around 18% to 28% in the last 2 years. They're not sitting on cash because they're scared. They're sitting on it because they know the biggest buying opportunities arrive after the panic peaks. Cash in 2026 is earning a respectable yield in high-yield savings accounts, money market funds, and 3-month treasury bills, often beating the dividend yield of the S&P 500 with zero stock market risk. This is the ultimate flexibility asset. It lets you act when everyone else is frozen. For you, the entry is the easiest of all. Move money into a high-yield savings account that pays 4 to 5%, or buy treasury bills directly through your brokerage. Keep enough to cover 24 to 36 months of all living expenses, plus a war chest for the opportunities you'll see coming. The 1% rule is strict. They size cash so it can cover their lifestyle and let them buy their top target assets at 30 to 50% discounts. That discipline is what separates the survivors from the ones who get wiped out.
Let me make this concrete. Imagine you have $200,000 in investable assets today. Keeping 25 to 30% in cash and short-term treasuries gives you $50,000 to $60,000 ready to deploy when the right moment arrives. While others are selling at the bottom, you're the buyer. Your action step today: calculate your monthly expenses, multiply by 24, and make sure that amount is sitting safely earning interest. Then decide what percentage feels right for your opportunity fund and move it there now. Cash gives you control. It gives you patience. It gives you the power to say no to bad deals and yes to great ones. In a world of constant noise, cash is the ultimate edge. So there you have it, the exact 5 assets the 1% are loading up on while the rest of the world panics in 2026. Gold for insurance, farmland for real income, private credit for high-yield cash flow, Bitcoin for asymmetric upside, and cash for the ultimate flexibility. None of these require perfect timing or a Wall Street Rolodex. They require the same mindset the wealthy have used for generations. Prepare when others celebrate, position when others fear, and stay disciplined when the headlines scream the loudest. If this episode gave you even one idea you can put to work this week, hit the like button right now. Drop your biggest takeaway in the comments below and subscribe with notifications turned on so you never miss the next blueprint. Next week, I'm revealing the exact cash flow system one family office uses to turn $1 million into $8 million every decade without ever touching the stock market. You won't want to miss it. Until then, stop managing money, start designing freedom. I'm Dr. Ben. I'll see you in the next blueprint.